BSC Group provides commercial real estate financing advisory solutions with a specialized niche in self-storage assets. Our team has the experience and expertise in the industry to get you the results you desire. We understand each property presents different challenges. Every client brings with them unique situations, and that the financial markets are always changing. The BSC Group team members have completed more than 500 financing transactions valued at over $4 billion for commercial property owners nationwide. Also, the 10-time winner of the Inside Self Storage Best Finance Broker. To learn more about the BSC Group, please call 1-800-605-7880 or visit www.thebscgroup.com.
In a world where brand experience is paramount, upholding your company's standards demands unwavering consistency in every location. At the SBOA, we understand the critical role consistency plays in driving your business's success. That is why we joined forces with MSI to introduce a revolutionary internal audit program tailored to meet the specific needs of your organization. Our game-changing audit program leverages cutting-edge technology and expert insight to bring you unparalleled accuracy and reliability. We know that success in this competitive environment is paved with adherence to operational requirements, and every company has its own standards along with state and local regulations to adhere to. So we've made our internal audit system completely customizable, all in a user-friendly app. The app enables on-site agents to collect real-time data and insights from their respective locations. This feature ensures that information is up to date and allows for quick responses to any issues or challenges that could arise. Our internal audit program also has advanced photo and video reporting capabilities. These visual reporting tools allow leadership to visualize non-compliant sites and gain a comprehensive understanding of the issues, with specific examples for clear context, which enhances communication and leads to faster resolutions. And it can be done with just a few clicks and the snap of a photo or quick video. And our program provides an in-depth understanding of each store's performance and challenges. This feature allows for a comprehensive assessment of how well each location adheres to operational requirements and brand standards, helping to identify areas for improvement. Are you ready to take your self-storage business to the next level? Explore our comprehensive suite of services, including internal audit programs, mystery shopping, and unlock your full potential. Contact us today to embark on a journey of excellence and success. 248-954-9000.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning, self-storage industry, and welcome to another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked. Today, we are talking all about lessons learned from early acquisitions. And today's webinar is sponsored by the BSC Group, and we have a special moderator for you today, Adam Carnes from the BSC Group. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jessica Johnson. I work with the SBOA, and we run this program 2 times a month for you to be able to come and get educated with us. So happy to have you guys here. If you have questions today for the speakers, please enter those questions into the comment section. We will ask a couple poll questions during the event as well. So if you could take a look in the poll area and the comment area and answer those there, we would greatly appreciate it. And we want to just thank everyone that's here with us today. We cannot put these events on without help from other industry peers of ours. So again, big shout out to the BSC Group, the Storage Mall, Cushman & Wakefield, and PassiveInvesting.com teams for being with us today for this event. And as you saw by that commercial, we have an all-new Storage for Rookies program in 2024. We took our 1-day, 5-hour training session to 4 full days with an add-on 5th day where you're getting almost 32 hours of education now. So if you want to learn more about that program, visit storageforrookies.com. I'm going to go ahead and bring Adam up here so we can get this kicked off. Good morning, Adam.
Morning. How are you, Jess?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing very
awesome.
well. Good to be here.
We still have to get that video updated. We keep talking about it because BSC Group has done way more than $4 billion, I think is what that video says. And I think you guys have won Best Broker or the Best Award more than 10 times now, right?
Possibly, but we appreciate you doing what you did with the limited that we have provided you, the limited information and cooperation that we have provided on that front.
Adam, tell the industry who you are and what you do for the BSC Group and what the BSC Group does.
Sure. So I'm Adam Carnes. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I started in 2014, late 2014, and we are a mortgage brokerage company. We focus pretty much exclusively on storage. So, we have financed, as you said, over $4 billion of storage transactions since we started, and we pretty much focus only on storage. I was an analyst for a long time, and now I'm a broker at the shop. So very excited to talk to some of these panelists who are clients, friends, and it's going to be a good one. I think this is an interesting topic.
It's a great topic. Thank you for putting all of this together. Adam did all the work on this one, not me. So thank you, Adam. All right. Next up, I have Alex Herbs from the Storage Mall. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jess. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you? Tell me all about you and the Storage Mall.
Well, we don't have time for that. I think we only have an hour here. We could be here all day. But no, Alex Herbs with the Storage Mall Management Group. We are a third-party management group based out of actually Rochester, New York. I'm here in the St. Louis area because we do have a bunch of facilities between the Northeast and the Midwest. Family owned and operated group. So we enjoy the ability to be able to work with a lot of other owners that are families, investors, etc. here. And then we also personally own, or I personally own about 9 locations too. So excited to talk about some of the good things that happen during closings and some of the crazy things that happen during these closings. So again, like Adam said, this is a great topic and excited to talk about it today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here with us.
Not a problem.
All right. Next up, we have Dave from Cushman & Wakefield. And I'm not going to say your last name because I'm probably going to butcher it. I should have asked you how to pronounce it first.
No problem. Yeah, it's tie, like tie your shoes. Or
I figured it was something simple, but I didn't want to butcher it. So
okay, you wouldn't be the first or the last.
Awesome. Dave, tell us about you and what you do for Cushman.
Yeah, so I am an investment sales broker. My partner and I lead up our investment sales team here. And then on the side, I own a portfolio of what started as multifamily and now growing self-storage facilities. So
awesome. Self-storage is the place to be, right?
It is, yes.
Good to know. Good to hear from you. Thanks for being here with us today. Yeah. All right. This guy, most people know, he's one of our own. We have Ian Burnstein up next from the SBOA. Good morning, IB.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We're good. Ian, tell us about you and your long career in self-storage.
I just got started this week. We started Storage Pros in 2006. Before that, I had another business I ran for 7 years prior to that. So this is my 24th year in the space. It's been very good to me. And we formed the SBOA in 2008 as the economy was really downturning and kind of fighting for survival. And it's really morphed into a great help to many people and within their business. And in my career, have developed, bought, managed, and sold over 100 facilities. And just most recently, I'm getting back in to the space with the hope of assembling a nice portfolio with some other self-storage industry veterans. So we just got started about our first portfolio. And so excited to kind of be back in it for the first time in a long time.
We're excited to have you back.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here with us today.
Pleasure.
And last but not least, we have Chris Bennett from PassiveInvesting.com. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Chris, give us your rundown. What do you do in self-storage?
Yeah, so I'm the managing partner over our self-storage division at PassiveInvesting.com. One of them actually have a counterpart. His name is John Allen as well. So I look for source deals from brokers, owners, et cetera, to help build our self-storage and boat and RV portfolio.
Awesome. Yeah, boat and RV is becoming the new craze out there, right? I mean, it's always
I
been
love it.
Yeah, the Toy Storage Nation and everything going on. So awesome. Well, we're going to bring all of the speakers back up. I am going to sit behind scenes today, which is not normal, but I'm going to do my best to stay back there and let these guys take it away. So Adam, it's your show, bud.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jess. So we'll dive right in. We have some good questions here and want to be mindful of our time. So first thing, we're going to talk about, lessons learned from early acquisitions, not necessarily just the first, but so the first question, and I'll float this to everyone. Let's start with Chris. So when and where did you acquire your first storage property?
Technically, the first one, I worked for a company called 10 Federal. They've made the news a lot recently with the funds that they've started, but I helped start their very first fund and their very first acquisition back in I think we closed in 2017. That was an interesting experience. The first one I did for myself and our partners was more recent in 2020. It was a small deal in Gastonia, North Carolina, about 14,000 square feet with additional room to expand.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Dave, how about you? When and where was your first acquisition?
Yeah, first storage acquisition was 2022 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So pretty close to home for me.
Yep. Same. Ian, how about you? When was your first and when and where?
So kind of when I started, we really only did development, and that was back in 2000. Some of you probably weren't born then, but we owned some land, couldn't figure out what to use it for. And my partners at the time said, it's got to be something in the storage business. Ian, go figure it out. And I went to a show and hired a consultant. 100 properties later, here I am.
Excellent. Excellent. And then Alex, last but not least, what about you? When did you acquire your first and where was it?
My story's not as cool as Ian's. Like, we just had a smaller facility. It was a 25,000 square foot facility in Dupo, Illinois, in the St. Louis suburbs, right here. And we bought that in May of 2016 was the first one there. So it just was a little mismanaged site that needed a little love, to say the least.
Excellent. We got a good spread. That's actually a very good a range of times and places where deals were acquired. So then rolling right into the next one, and Alex, I'm going to go with you on this one. And I know this might have been, it's a family company, so this might have been early on in your, participation in the group. But how many deals would you say you underwrote roughly before you guys got your first acquisition?
Yeah, so you made a good kind of asterisk there, a little sidebar for that, because I'll probably look a little more at just what my dad and I have purchased. When we started in 2016, of course, my uncle also has been buying facilities since, I think, probably before Ian. Actually, not trying to date Ian there, but I think 1999, 2000. Really, very early on there. But so even for my dad and I remember we were. I at least probably underwrote a dozen deals minimum, and probably, that was going on 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, and some of that was also, I think it depends where you're at in your storage journey. We were not like, oh my God, we're going to jump in and do this, because my dad was still working full time. Truthfully, I was still a college student then. So it kind of was.
Can everybody still hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Alex, you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh,
there, you're back though.
Okay.
On the road, how many? Now you're back.
No, we're good. Yeah. So probably about a dozen at the time there when we were looking. I mean, minimum. And that was over a span of a few years and consistently underwriting some smaller acquisitions at that time. So
Got it. And then Chris, I'm laughing because I just was.
Oh, I lost you.
okay. So it's not me. I feel better now.
Yeah, I think it's Adam.
I can see and hear all you guys. Adam, I lost Adam.
I think Adam's going in and out. So Chris, we'll throw it to you. How many deals?
Chris, how many did you underwrite before you bought your first one?
Oh, there it goes. Okay, it all came back. Probably, I don't know, man. A lot. 100. I'm not really sure. We were looking at a lot of deals. Excuse me. We're looking at a lot of deals. So the one with, I'll focus on the one in Gastonia that we closed. We looked at a lot of deals over. That was during the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing mailers and postcards and things like that to deals in the Charlotte market and elsewhere. We actually had another small deal under contract, but seller breached and we lost money on that one, decided not to sue him. So we were going through this whole process, and then we got this one under contract and closed it. So I would say about 100 deals plus some more sleepless nights and headaches and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Okay. So
But for your audience, I don't want them to think that they have to look at that many. That's just kind of the time period that we were in, 2019, 2020, 2018. It just kind of was the way it was. So
sure. And then, so Dave, I'm going to turn to you on this next one. You know, you mentioned you were in multifamily. What was, sort of the genesis of wanting to get into storage? Was it wanting passive income, yield? What was that driver for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say self-storage is passive by any stretch of the word. It's certainly a lot more passive than multifamily, which I like and am attracted to. But what I like most about it is, you don't have toilets, you don't have people living there. Hopefully, they shouldn't be, at least. And it's got, there's just a lot of really good vendors that make it, from the technology side, that make it easy to operate by myself or as we grow, with a small team. So you get some efficiencies there that you don't in some of the other asset classes.
Got it. And Chris, so I'm going to target this one towards you, a little bit of a different question, but, same thing. What encouraged you to get into storage? But I think taking it a step further, what kind of decided, or what was the deciding factor behind going on your own, partnering up with John and doing it for yourself? Where was that?
Yeah, that was an iterative process. So I realized when I was at 10 Federal, to kind of piggyback up what Dave just said about multifamily versus storage, I was looking for multifamily deals and was calling and talking to brokers and all that stuff. And we couldn't make the numbers work on some of the deals. We got 2 under contract. They both fell out. This is during my time back in the day at 10 Federal, call it 2016, 2017 or so. Decided to pivot towards storage. So I had no idea anything about storage whatsoever. Had to do research online, discovered the self-storage almanac, picked that up, bought it, read it, and then was like, oh, wow. I found information from Cushman & Wakefield, I remember. And I talked to the guys over there trying to figure out how to get into the business and kind of just self-educated. So I realized that there's a great opportunity within storage, the number of mom and pops and the number of smaller deals that a person can get into for a lower cost basis versus like multifamily. Where you have to buy maybe 10 units roughly as a solo person, not raising capital from the outside. You can get, probably 100 or 200 units with the same amount of money. So a little bit less risk, a little bit less headache. So that's kind of what made me pivot to storage as a whole. They're both great asset classes. I just prefer it. And then my first deal, bro, we need to make some money. We got to find a deal and make some money. So we found John and I, we actually connected, and I had actually 2 other partnerships before that. Oh, so to back up to answer your question, the reason I got into it, I realized all the multifamily stuff, storage stuff, but also it's not rocket science. So like, why not go do this for myself? So I went out and found a couple of partners to try and go do the thing. That didn't work out. Found another partnership. That didn't work out. And then the one finally did. So 2 strikes and finally a hit, a home run, I guess you'd say. So a bit of another kind of up and down process. But yeah, just trying to find deals for cash flow to make money. You don't really make that much money on small deals with the cash flow. You might not make it on big deals depending on the size of your debt, but on the exit is obviously what you're looking for, and just the upside if it's a value add deal. So that was the whole reason.
Got it. So this next one, Ian, I think you sort of already answered this, so I'm going to give this one to Dave because you said it was kind of, we had some land, we had to figure out what to do with it. Dave, how did you find the first deal you acquired? How did that transpire?
Yeah, it came to me from a broker, a self-storage broker in the market. I had actually called on this owner a number of years prior to buying it, but it came to me from a broker. So those broker relationships are super valuable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Alex, how about you? Your first transaction, and it doesn't have to be your first, but an early transaction. How did it come to you? Off market?
Well, I'm like a broker's worst nightmare here because our first 3-4 transactions, if it was, we were those guys that we did all of ours via mailers. Actually, is just literally the good old fashioned mailing. Sending those out is at that time we never bought one from a broker. It was always just an off market deal with the mailers. And so we actually, I can say this, it's kind of funny is, so we did 3. So for my dad and I, we did 3 transactions or 3 deals within 11 months in 2016. And that was from never owning a store and never owning a rental property to having 1,000+ tenants in less than a year. So I don't suggest that to everybody. We found that was not the way to do it at the time. But those were all off of one mailer that actually just hit really well there, that we got a bunch of good leads and everything from it. So that's, yes. Sorry, Dave, close your ears. I know the good old fashioned still working.
I think the worst nightmare for a broker is not that. I think it's maybe someone they show 10 deals to and they never get a deal closed with. Obviously, if you eventually get one, it's all worth it. But
Adam, there can be multiple nightmares.
And that's a really cool thing for people to hear, because that approach does still work. People still do that today. So, so kind of piggybacking off of that one, let's say Ian, because you said, I actually asked Ian. Ian's been doing this for a long time, and he said he remembers most of the deals he worked on. So was there anything interesting about some of the early acquisitions? Anything that stands out to you that you remember from those early deals from negotiation?
So in fairness, so I've kind of had 2 iterations. I did a first business and then started again back in 2007. So, for 1 year, the market was really hot. We bought about 10 properties. But the thing that really stood out for me was we were in the enviable position in many ways that we were one of the only guys who didn't give any properties back to banks. And so in 2009, things started to, banks started to realize they had to do things and people need to get things off their books. We were kind of the last guy standing. So here Alex talked about buying 3 in a year. We, in about 2.5 years, we bought almost 70 properties in 8 states and took over management all ourselves. And to say I didn't sleep for, several years is not an exaggeration. And so I was on a plane and, but it was, we bought 20. The hardest part was there was so much distress, and owners were kind of disappearing, and banks and trustees and receivers were taking over these properties and had no idea what they had. And we just really took major risks. I mean, we bought all these properties on average 20 cents on the dollar, probably 50% occupied, and had to just really figure out what the hell was going on there. So we kind of believed in our management philosophy and believed that we were buying them well enough that we were going to be fine. And thank God we were.
Storage pros indeed, Ian.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this is a 2-part, and we'll take the first part first. Was there something you did and I'll ask this question, let's start with maybe Chris. Was there something you did in your negotiations on an early deal that you were kind of hyper-focused on that ended up being a waste of time? Or not even a waste of time, but you felt you spent too much time on one issue, and then it ended up being not as big of a deal or an issue as you thought? Anything on an early deal?
No, I think nothing that I can think of other than getting, until you kind of come together at closing, and it's always like there's a proverb that says it's no good, says the buyer, then off he goes and brags about his purchase. So when you're trying to negotiate terms as a buyer, oftentimes every little thing becomes this issue. Oh, they raised rents 5%. No way, we can't do that. We can only do 3 in the underwriting, or, whatever the thing is. And you try to renegotiate the price because of maybe you're trying to nitpick some things on the in the financials, et cetera. And then you get it under contract and you get to closing and you're like, oh man, we bought a home run deal. And it wasn't necessarily because you got, maybe $100,000 off the purchase price, but your eyes open, you see, oh, this is actually a great deal. We're excited about this deal. And you go tell investors about it, or you're trying to raise capital or whatever. So there was nothing really I could think of that was a hang up. We've had numerous issues that we probably should have settled before closing that have come up, like on the Gastonia deal, for example. They had a good old boy agreement with the signage. So the guy who built it, he actually lived, he had like, call it 5 acres. He built the storage on roughly 4 of it, and then his house in the front of it on, call it an acre. And he put the sign in his front yard off to the side. So not right in front of his house, but off to the side. So the guys who owned the facility before us that we bought it from, they did not have an easement or anything in place for the sign. And there was a small strip of land that you could potentially put the sign on, but there was some problem, whatever. Long story short, we got it worked out. So we have the sign moved and fixed that issue off his property there. But he called the city and tried to put up a stink about it because he wanted roughly, I think it was an astronomical amount for an easement. It was like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I can't remember what it was, but it was in the thousands that he wanted for this easement for the sign. And we're like, we're not going to do that. So he tried to make trouble for us. So we should have handled that prior to closing, but nothing that I could think of outside those little things where you kind of nitpick things in the pro forma or in the financials that you kind of get hung up on. And then afterwards you realize, oh, it's actually not that big of a deal.
I'll add something onto that too. It's a good comment, Chris. And I'm a former lawyer, did real estate law for 5 years, so know enough to be dangerous. But I have found in my experience now doing this with count law and being in business, for 30 years almost, I would tell you, I have never, ever in hundreds of transactions, never been involved or seen a lawsuit over a breach of reps or warranties. Never seen one on, little nitpicky, terminology within the agreement. So my advice is do not let your lawyer negotiate your way out of a deal, because it'll be very rare that it even, comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sorry to interrupt. So we had a deal back in the day that took us 4 months to negotiate because the seller was using a residential attorney and not a commercial attorney. So had 0 experience in commercial and 0 experience in storage. And it literally took 4 months to just negotiate the PSA because that attorney was striking out everything and doing all this stuff. We finally had to get on the phone with everybody and say, look, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Got the deal closed, but it was a headache. So
over-lawyered.
Well, and I think add to that point, Chris, I want to answer Adam's question in a second here, but I think to that point, when you're doing something in storage, please find somebody that specializes in all the storage stuff here, because I think we can all talk about horror stories of, oh, we had a residential title company who's trying to do the title work for this large storage facility, never done it before. I can tell you a horror story of the residential appraisers who are now showing up and they're oh, look at this cool little warehouse building. And they're trying to compare it to literally the 4-bedroom house down the street. And we're like, where did you find this appraiser from? So I think very moral of the story to Ian, Chris, all of our points. Please find somebody that specializes and knows what self-storage is, because it'll make your life 10 times harder if you don't have that, because now you have to explain the industry to that appraiser, to that lender, to that title company, and it's not going to be an easy explanation there.
No, Alex, it's a great comment. I would tell you, for people that are kind of getting into the space, I started out, I'm sure most of you did too, hiring a consultant, hiring I would strongly encourage anybody getting in the space to hire a third-party management company to start out, which I did. I eventually came back to it because it's certainly evolved and became much more effective over the years. But I mean, really, as you're getting acquisitions done, definitely use professionals. It is a very specialized industry, way more than anybody could anticipate before they get into it. You will certainly make mistakes. You'll learn from your mistakes, try to limit them. But for Dave's benefit, I'll tell you, out of over 100 properties, the only time we went under contract and did not actually close, we found there was nickel going into from our property in the potential property going into the city water. Besides that, we've never not closed. We unless it was absolutely necessary. I can count on one hand how many times we renegotiated. But if you want to keep getting significant deal flow, you don't want to be the person who's wishy-washy. And someone mentioned earlier, if you're not closing on deals, the brokers just won't send stuff to you. And so brokers are the lifeline. There's no question. And it's great if you can start getting off market deals, and brokers don't begrudge it. I'm sure they'd rather you go through them, obviously. That's how they make a living. But you want to be really good to your brokers. I mean, that is a very important component of this business.
Well said, Ian.
And I'll just say one thing from my experience as a mortgage broker. I mean, we've had, to Alex's point, we've had a couple times where we can't decide who the appraiser is, but we can certainly say to the bank, hey, make sure you're engaging with appraisers that know the business. And I've had a couple of deals that didn't necessarily die because of the appraiser, but we had to pivot to a totally different loan product, something like that, because they had a broker that didn't know, or an appraiser that didn't know what they were doing, used comps that were 90 miles, 100 miles away. And we're going, there's 10 comps within 10 miles. So that's really important.
Yeah, man, we had that nearly created a handful of deals, and you got to be very proactive with your lender and let them know, like, listen, you can pick whoever you want, but I would recommend one of these three, or make sure it's somebody who's proficient in storage. That's a great comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to add on top of that, the one, couldn't agree more with those comments at all. The one thing I found is these specialists tend to cost a little bit more than if you're coming from another asset class. It's, like your appraiser will cost an extra few grand, but it is worth it every time. Insurance, you want to make sure you're getting the right insurance. You're going to want to have customer goods and sale and disposal, legal liability. Most property and casualty insurance vendors don't carry those riders. So it's going to cost a little bit more, but you're going to be, you'll sleep at night a little better. So just go with the specialist and pay for what you get.
And this is going into a little bit of going back to the initial question, which was in regards to the, what was something that was a waste of time or whatever. And I don't know if it was so much us, but it sometimes is, especially so for some reason, especially some of the owners or the sellers in the storage industry and some of these smaller facilities really think that their facility and everything they do is the greatest thing on God's green earth. And they're going to nickel and dime you for everything that they did there. And so to Dave's point, I'm like, don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money, because our situation was not so much us. Well, it kind of was us wasting time. The seller of our facility, of our first facility, had 160 units, but he worked there full time. And he was kind of that jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy that was working there full time. So he was selling U-Haul trucks also. He was selling cook sheds off the property. And my favorite one that we still saw is he was selling bomb shelters, underground bomb shelters at the facility. So there was a giant bomb shelter sitting on the property there. So he was trying to say, well, there's value in the business I've done with the bomb shelter business, and there's value in this. And I'm like, there's no value in any of, I'm sorry, but just because you're sitting here all day trying to sell bomb shelters is not this is not value your business anymore. And that was part of the negotiation process. I actually did spend more time than I ever thought trying to value a shed business, a bomb business. I'm like, oh no, this doesn't make any, and you kind of have to step back and get that specialist that kind of comes to you and goes, there's no value in that because you're not going to do anything there. It's just because this guy wanted a few extra bucks in his pocket and tries to sell that. So
that definitive answer. So I'm going to skip the second part of that question, because I think that was a lot of good advice there, which was, was there something you didn't do that you wish you had? And go into, just start with you, Ian. On the first couple of transactions, how did you finance those deals? And I think I know some background on this, but how did you finance those deals you worked on in the beginning?
Right. Well, that was before your time with me, but your company's time. So I had another partnership for the first years. But we just did traditional bank financing. I had partners that were actually in the construction business. So it was a little bit of a unique set of circumstances. But we just used traditional bank financing. We did use, and quite honestly, during the 08-09 time, there was nothing else that even existed, right? So we were taking over loans, just taking over deals that were owned by banks. So the banks were generally giving us the money. 2012 rolled around, and that's when we actually used BSC, and we refinanced, a couple $100 million of the loans, all on with using the conduit loans, the CMBS loans. So, the loans, there's all kinds of advantages and disadvantages. At the time, I had very little net worth when I started. I had a small stock account and a house, and that was it. I had to sign personally about $75 million worth of debt. So that, when we talk about not sleeping, that didn't help the matter. And so we eventually took everything and put it all non-recourse with CMBS debt. That was the great news. And by the way, the proceeds are so good with that debt that I think we gave back, by the time that happened, our investors had back 2-3 times their money. And then when we sold just a handful of years later, it was one good news was the market got so unbelievably good so fast, and we did such a good job managing that we absolutely, our loan to value was 31% at close.
Awesome.
However, because we had CMBS, we also had a $14 million defeasance, which was a brutal thing to think about, but was the right move. Don't regret it.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, how about you? That's good. How about you? How did you finance your first deal?
Adam, do you want to just answer that question?
Know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer.
Yeah. So Adam helped me out all the way. Goes back to what everyone was saying. Work with professionals. Storage financing is, like everything else in the industry, pretty specialized. Not every bank gets it. Actually, not every lender gets it, but we ended up going with commercial bank loan, traditional. We got a good chunk of IO on it. We got them to stretch the term a little bit on it. And we liked it because it gave us some flexibility. We thought we were going to be able to maybe pull some cash out a little sooner, but that has gone
crazy.
Yeah, rates have gone a little crazy, so we're not doing that, but we're good now, anyways.
Move along. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that was a fun one to work on. And Chris, how about you? What one of your early deals? How did you? Anything notable about how you financed it?
No, that first one in Gastonia, we used a local bank. The lender who had the current loan on it was interested in doing the deal with us, but my business partner, John, at the time, he had a good relationship, a previous relationship with another bank locally here, and they gave us great terms on the financing and construction loan because we built another building there on the site. So, so we just used the local bank. I think for our second deal, we used you guys, and I forgot how many loans we've done with you guys, at least one or two, at least one, if not two. I don't remember. Three? I don't remember.
Or
Oh, okay.
Okay. A couple of maybe three. Yeah.
Okay. We'll call it that. So, but yeah, on that first one, it was just local because it was small. It was a small deal. It was, $1 million. I guess altogether, it was a $3 million deal with the construction costs, but the purchase price was under $2 million. So, smaller deal. So, local bank makes sense for that, and the relationship was there.
Okay. Awesome. Next one being, and I'm going to start with you, Alex, and you already sort of told us one interesting, challenging part of putting together a deal, but, anything notable quickly about, one of your early deals in terms of negotiations, one of the more challenging aspects of pulling together one of those early acquisitions?
Yeah, and this actually goes a little bit into the last question too. And so we did for my dad and I on our first few deals, we did SBA loans. I know those are very popular right now. We did SBA loans. Actually have worked with Bishesh and the Live Oak team now going on whatever we're at 8 years, 9 years, something like that. Great. And not to name drop another company there, but there you go. There's your drop of the day. But part of that is again, and we already talked about just some of the how you value the business versus the real estate there, because there was different cash flow going. So the owner, really explained to the owner those details. As you're doing an SBA loan, again, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of aspects, and there's some expectations from the seller. And so my favorite on that deal is the seller, we came to find out, filed his taxes wrong for the last 3 years. So when we went to go verify all the stuff for the SBA and the IRS, it just kept coming back with zeros and issues. And so we had to literally work with the seller's accountant to get it figured out to even get the deal closed, was part of it. So, there's a ton of issues with that. You've seen, I think, some of these smaller deals, and looking back on it, I kind of laugh because, you have these sellers that'll do I'm taking some cash under the table. That was my favorite one with this guy, and then especially when you're doing an SBA loan, trying to verify that and trying to get to a proper valuation. And, the normal stuff. Oh, we're 100% full, but in reality, they're not 100% full. And they're actually have
friends and family.
Yeah. lot of friends and family in this facility because he knew everybody in town. I mean, it's just, and so this will go in. I know we're going to talk a little bit more on due diligence and some of that process, but even in negotiations, it was, he was at a pretty inflated value and we kept coming back at the same price. And it took, it probably took a good 3 to 4 months with this guy of negotiating even a normal price. And then it took us 5 months, almost 6 months, 180 days to close, actually, just because of extensions and all these issues and stuff. So we were working with the seller almost a year minimum, just with this guy trying to get to the closing table there.
Wow.
So,
we see it all the time with deals where you're buying from mom and pop, where there's a lot to unwind. Just I'll suffice it to say that. Dave, anything notable on challenging negotiations? Anything that you would note on your first deal?
I was pretty lucky. I think it helped that the seller did have some representation, so they got everything lined up on the front end. For management reports and summaries, and all the documentation we needed was already digested for us. No, it was a clean, easy deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That happens sometimes too. That's always a nice thing. I'm sure everybody here has had challenging deals and deals that were more smooth.
Be Dave, don't be Alex in these scenarios. It's a lot easier. Go with the really super smooth transactions.
Yeah, I don't know. There's usually like a lot more value on the hard ones.
There's value in the hard ones sometimes, for sure. So, well, just because we're running out of time, but just want to keep things moving along. This is a pretty quick one, so I'll ask everyone this one. I'll start with you, Ian. How did you manage your, early facilities, whether it's your portfolio, first facilities? How did you decide to manage those? Third party, by yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So we started with third party. We did the first 2 with third party. And then I had partners that were just harping me with questions nonstop. And then I would go to the property manager and say, I need to know this. And they were getting incredibly frustrated that I want to know too much and was trying to be too involved. So nobody was happy with me. And I finally decided, this is the situation. I'm just going to do it myself. And I had spent enough time and learned enough by that time that I felt, I knew I'd make mistakes, but at least I felt comfortable enough to give it a go. And then ended up managing, starting in 2001 or 2, all the way through 2016. At that point, I probably would have kept going with management, but we temporarily we got down to about 14 assets, and they were we had to hold on to them just based on loan restrictions. And so it was a very, kind of all over. Like we like to have 7 or 8 assets in each market. We like to have certain markets. So when that happened, it just didn't make sense to manage anymore. And we kind of figured out after that, as the REITs really started getting very good at this. I think that for the most part, I would tell it. My philosophy now, after seeing this, is depending on what kind of assets you have. Generally speaking, you're going to do things a lot better than them, and they're going to do things a lot better than you. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to about the same, is my belief. And so to take off the headaches and not have to staff properties and not have to loan employees money and, have to have a lot of personnel issues. To me, it was easier. We made the decision to scale up management.
Yeah, very good. Chris, how about you? How did you guys manage your first couple of deals, or, whether with your 10 Federal former life or the newer iteration? How did you guys manage?
Yeah. So 10 Federal, everything was managed in-house, multifamily and self-storage. And everybody kind of, unless you might not know, they do like a lot of technology, kiosks, et cetera. So I got to see that stuff firsthand, which is great. And then with the stuff we do now, we use third-party management. So what Ian said makes a ton of sense. I like it. I get involved a bit. They're very gracious to us and let us get involved because I do want to learn and understand. I don't mind working in a facility, go and visit. I go out and revisit apartments, get a bunch of cards and promotional material, and go and beat the pavement. I don't mind doing any of that kind of stuff. But we do use third-party management, and they allow us to get involved a little bit here and there and kind of see a little bit more behind the scenes, which is great.
Yeah. Dave, how about you? How'd you manage your first facility?
I dove head in, did it myself. I remember it pretty well. We just had our second kid like a week before closing. And just the changeover, like change in management calls I was making were a lot. And I wish I would have hired a manager, but it was, at the same time, it was good. I learned a ton. And yeah, so
great learning experience to come from that. I mean, I think like all these guys have said, there's advantages to third-party management. If you're new to the industry, I would probably say, you know, most people, if they ask me, I say, hey, I think you should hire third-party management, but it's a really good way to immerse yourself, learn a lot about the industry, learn what works, what doesn't work. Okay, next one. This is a fun one. And Alex, I'm going to start with you on this one, even though, you know, we've talked about some of this stuff already, but anything that snuck up on, actually, I think you suggested that this was a great question and a good prompt. Anything that snuck up on you that you were so focused on something else during the closing that something snuck up on you right at the end there and you go, oh, geez, we're a week from closing and we haven't handled this issue. And this sort of goes back to one of those questions earlier, but anything that snuck up on you that wasn't on your radar?
You know, we've seen this a lot. I don't know if we so much had this, and this is where you have the benefit, like Chris and some of the other guys talked about. It's like the partnership in this is my dad's a lot more focused on the finance stuff because he's an accounting background, and I'm much more focused on the operations. Mm-hmm. And so it worked out well as we kind of knew our lanes, as I was getting prepared for kind of taking over the daily operations part of it. And he was more focused on getting the closing. And again, we knew our lanes in our partnership and how it worked. And so I see this a lot though now from the other side is really, you know, as being in third party management and helping some of these owners and getting them ready to take over is we've been seeing a lot of different things here recently where number one is, I think, especially if you're doing this yourself or don't have partners and stuff, I've seen a lot of surprises where they're so focused on getting to closing and they've kind of thought about what their daily operations are going to look like or what's going to happen. But then they didn't know when they were going to close and they didn't engage somebody. So we'll get a phone call a week before closing as third party management. And they go, hey, we need you to take over our facility next week. And it's like, great, we'd be happy to, but there's a lot of discussions that happen. And so, you know, you should really have a good timeline is, you know your expectations on when, you know, you're roughly going to close, what your operations are going to look like, engage some of these professionals early, even if you're just saying, hey, heads up, in 90 days, I probably will be using you or going to be getting, you know, software and vendors in place. I think that's one of the biggest ones that a lot of these guys get attest to is, you know, I think some people think, oh, I can just call, you know, whatever software company and they'll be live by next week. Is no, they usually want a 30-day window. They want some timelines on that, et cetera. And then the other one that I think is kind of snuck up on us in the past, because I think there's just some kind of mindset on this. And we've seen this a lot with some of our clients very recently too, as it's changed, is working with your local government or township there or whatever's going on, especially in your due diligence period, is I like these ideas of, oh, well, it's been grandfathered in. The storage facility has been there forever. What could go wrong? And then as soon as it changes owners, you know, you need to get new business license. You need to get new certificates of occupancy. And you need to get a lot of things that, you know, I didn't know about in the beginning. I'm going, it's been storage. What's the, you know, why is there a problem?
What's going to change? Yeah.
What could change here? And I mean, we just had this up in Wisconsin with a property is they're like, no, you're out of zoning compliance and we are not letting you run a facility at this location. And, you know, some jurisdictions are great with it. Others are not. And so I think there's sometimes a stigma of like, I don't want anybody to know about it. Let's just get to the closing table and we'll figure it out later. It's like, no, actually be proactive in everything you're talking to because there's a major issue. Or for example, one of our sites is we went to go get certificate of occupancy afterwards because, you know, we thought we didn't need it. We went afterwards and they said, oh, actually you have to pave the whole facility. Ooh. And we fought with the whole thing. And yeah, first year we weren't expecting to pave, nor did we want to pave this facility, but we got it down to a smaller avenue there, but we had to pave everything. And it was because we just didn't go and get our occupancy permit at the time.
Yeah. Onboarding. That's a great, to your first point, your earlier point. I mean, onboarding management software, whatever it is, it's not overnight. I mean, if you just think of all that goes into it, you can understand why a management company, excuse me, can't get themselves ready in 3 days. You know, there's some stuff that has to go on.
Hard to get the credit card data too.
What's that?
It's always hard to get the credit card data when you're trying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Dave, you talked about just the change of management calls and all of that. I mean, that may not have even snuck up on you as much as it's just it's a lot. Even if you have 100 tenants, 150 tenants, let alone if you have 900 tenants. You know, that's where you can see the advantages sometimes of bringing someone on that's a third party manager, that kind of thing. I'm gonna, again, in the interest of time, that's Alex. That was good insight. Dave, I'll ask you this one as a guy who is self-managing. anything that you would say you embrace that has just changed the game for you from a technology standpoint, software, some amenity, anything that you would really, to people that are getting into the industry, that you would really recommend?
Yeah, so we're lucky enough to have a gated facility, gated and fenced facility. And if you do have that, I would highly recommend getting, proper access controls at the gates that tie into your management software. That's been a game changer for us. It's just saves a ton of time. It not only does it help with like helping like get rid of delinquencies, but once people do go delinquent, you don't have to go to the facility and overlock, or you give yourself a little bit of a window. But yeah, that's been a big time saver for me.
Not everybody can scale a fence like I can in 10 seconds flat. So yeah, keep it out if you need to.
Yeah.
Chris, how about you? Anything notable at your facilities that you think, or technology, software, or really anything that you think you'd really recommend? Oh, Chris, you might be on mute, or unless everybody else can hear.
Sorry, I flipped my mic off. Yeah, not really. Other than what, like the common sense things, like obviously the proper gate software, so you can lock people out, so you can control access to your property. I think in some cases we can over technologicalize, if that's a word, things. So you want to add in kiosks, you want to add in these other things to run stuff unattended, unmanned, whatever the buzzword is these days for not having a manager on site full time. And it's all great. Like that's perfect. We run 4 sites that way, so I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying that, look at the cost return benefit and see if it makes sense. That trade-off makes sense. We have also seen where we've gone from unattended or unmanned or whatever you want to call it to full-time staff, full-time managers. And if you have the right full-time manager, they knock it out of the park. You'll sometimes get better performance. We've seen that across our properties as well. So no, nothing that I wouldn't be able to live without besides the basics: good security cameras, good gates, good access, decent software, storage, site link, whatever it is you want to use. I don't care, but just some good software to keep track of things. Because when you go to sell, you got, like we were all talking about earlier on, there needs to be some sort of reliable software that you can pull the data from and share it with the seller. If stuff is too fuzzy and confusing, that's where you kind of get hit on that purchase price and renegotiated from a potential buyer. So some of those basic things, I think, that we don't think about. One thing to piggyback off of, something you didn't anticipate, I think it was prior to closing. One is, like you guys said, the management, but also I learned my lesson several times, like don't close on a Friday. That's a bad day to close. Don't close at the end of the month if you can help it. Obviously, contracts have what they have, 60 days to close or whatever it is. But end of the month is kind of a bad time.
Fridays and Mondays can be challenging.
Yeah.
One thing I would say, you mentioned it, Chris, and I'm sure everybody here would echo it. Maybe you don't have to have 35 security cameras on your site and have cameras into every pocket of your facility, but definitely security cameras. I've talked to so many owners. They figured out someone is going in when they shouldn't be, or they figured out how damage occurred. They figured out someone's living in a 10 by 10 or, whatever it is. But that software, whatever you use, is great. It just helps. Selfishly, it makes my job easier when someone if I'm going out to find financing for someone, if someone has good software, good organized reports, I can, look through all that stuff cleanly. That's a very important piece. It's an institutional type of operation there. So that's great. And then I think we've got a couple minutes here, and this one I wanted to really leave some time for. And then if we have a little bit of time at the end, I'll go back and ask one more question I'm skipping. But Ian, I'm going to start with you. So kind of a catch-all here. People are listening. They might have a facility. They might be looking to get a facility. They may own 10 facilities. But is there any piece of advice that you can think of across the whole spectrum of advice you could give when looking at an early acquisition, looking for your first acquisition? Any notable advice you'd give people?
Well, first, I would say just be really careful. Definitely be very conservative on your underwriting, and debt is just such a critical component right now. It's just, other than 2008, I mean, 2008 wasn't as big an issue because there was just no deals being done. Now it's just very challenging. But I would also tell you, really make sure you have a professional with you who understands the business. To me, I think it's really important that we really worked on centralizing everything. So it's a very odd business. I guess apartments are somewhat similar, but there's properties we have that are worth over $20 million, and we've got someone making $13, $14 an hour at the time running the facility, right? So you got to really understand your expectations. And so for us, really centralizing operations, having everything going through, very talented people who are able to manage the on-site people, and taking as much off the manager's plate to set them up to succeed just on the most important components, to me, is the most important. We actually are going to manage ourselves now going forward. We are going to use a remote access. So instead of spending money on staff of the properties, we're right now looking to hire a $150,000 a year call center manager, right? So because we do so many things there. So really I can't stress enough just really understanding the business and making educated decisions, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can make some really significant mistakes that you may not be able to recover from.
Absolutely. Dave, how about you? Any advice as a guy who, somewhat recently acquired your first facility? Anything you'd tell people that are looking to get into the industry?
Yeah, to add on to Chris's, don't close on it. Don't close right before having a baby and expect to have a smooth leadership transition. Brain gets a little foggy. But besides that, I would say, if you're thinking about it, I try not to have like paralysis by analysis. Get comfortable, have confidence in your underwriting, but don't, it comes to a point you just got to take a step and jump in. So don't be afraid to do that either. Have faith in yourself and have faith in the team you put around you.
Yeah, I think that's a good balance of what Ian's saying, which is, be conservative in your underwriting, make sure you know the business, make sure you're working with people. But there is that analysis paralysis where, there's risk in everything people do, whether it's you go outside and, try and get on the bus, or you're trying to buy a storage facility. There's risk in everything we do. And so at a certain point, if you think it's a good deal, it feels right, you have the right team in place, I think, it's awesome. It's a great industry to be in. So I agree with both of those comments. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I think just a bit of encouragement for people out there. It is possible. I think sometimes we can kind of bang our heads against the wall because we got no deals, no deal flow, or whatever the problem is. And will I ever be able to buy a storage facility? Yes, you will. You just keep going and you just don't give up. Whether it's mailers or brokers or whomever, it is absolutely 100% doable. You can get into the business. It might take a little bit longer. It might happen quicker. Who knows? But if you're not playing the game, you're never going to win anything. So, and I like what Ian said about having a consultant. You can have someone that you hire, a third party, a literal consultant who will help you. There's a lot of good ones out there that will kind of advocate for you and guide you through the process, like hold your hand. And I think that's worth it. It is absolutely worth it, I think, in my opinion, actually to avoid making some mistakes. But if you maybe don't want to go that route, you can always get a third party management company to look over your shoulder, to look at your pro forma, your underwriting. Obviously, the lenders, your silent partner, they will come and check your numbers as well. But there's a number of people out there who will help you get into the business, and it is possible. So just a bit of encouragement there.
Alex, how about you? Any advice?
Couple quick things. My joking one to piggyback off of Dave and Ian. Also, try not to close the week between New Year or Christmas and New Year's. That's a terrible one. I know it's end of the year and you got to get it done, but please, it's a nightmare. We did that twice on accident, so there you go. And there's nobody working that week to help you with anything, to say the least. But on a serious note, I think a lot of these guys summarized it well in the same things in my regards. I think the biggest thing, especially for some first-time guys, don't expect year one to be the biggest booming year right off the bat. Like, I think some people are so afraid, like they're trying to pinch every penny, that they're stepping over, what's the old phrase? They're losing money. Something like that. Yes, whatever it is. Some good analogy there. But I just see this a lot where it's like, okay, they didn't take the time, like Dave just said, to put new access control systems in. So they're having all these gate issues, but they're so worried about spending money versus, hey, that's a one-time CapEx. Get the right access control in place, and this thing will run smoother, and you'll make more money in the long run. So just don't think that year one's going to be the biggest boom in your life, unless you got a screaming deal, which I don't know if those are still completely out there, where you're just making tens of millions of dollars right off the bat, on that. So
I'm just going to give my piece here. And I don't want this to sound self-serving, because it's more than just on the brokerage side, but to piggyback off Ian and what everybody said, hiring a good team. There's definitely, you can go at it alone. You can do your first small acquisition and you don't have to, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a good team in place. But whether it's hiring management, engaging a mortgage broker, again, I don't want that to sound self-serving, but getting a consultant, just because understanding your transaction, having some guidance when you're putting together a pro forma, understanding what your market looks like, understanding things that, one of my favorite things that people say to me when they are coming from some other asset class to storage is, "Oh, storage is easy, right? It's got to be the easiest asset class." It's really not. There's a lot of reasons why the people that do well in storage do well, and it's because they use technology. They have good teams. They go to trade shows. They're learning about cutting edge, whatever it is, software. They're keeping a good pulse on the market. So, making sure that you're getting a second set of eyes on your pro forma, what you're putting together there, checking out a couple of management companies, talking to your peers in the industry, engaging good sales brokers, engaging a mortgage broker. Doesn't even have to be the BSC group, but I think there's a lot of value in engaging a mortgage broker in a challenging market. But in general, it's an awesome industry to be in. And frankly, there's so many awesome people in this industry. You're seeing it today. There's six wonderful people on the screen here, but there's so many people that you can call on. And I don't want to offer this up without everybody else's consent, but I'm sure all these guys and gals would take a call from you if you had a question. So really lean on the people in the industry. It's a really, really cool industry, storage is. So with that, thank you everybody for listening. Jess, I think you have some announcements, but I appreciate all the panelists, and it's been good.
Yeah, and Adam, I just want to piggyback on that last comment. If I can throw my 2 cents in, join the Storage for Rookies program. Our first session is about how to get into the business. We go over pro formas, due diligence, acquisitions, all of that. Again, it's a 5-series part program, but the very first one, it sounds like some of the audience here today, they're newer into the industry. That's a really good segue to get in and join your state and national self-storage association. Go to the conferences, go to the trade shows, get educated, meet the vendors. We're a vendor in the space as well. We would love to meet you at an upcoming show. So thank you all of the speakers for being here. I am going to release the speakers and go into a couple quick announcements for the audience. If you could stick around just for one more minute. Thank you guys so much. Always
Thanks, Jess. See you in a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone. So just a couple quick ending announcements. Like we were saying, there are conferences coming up. Trade show season is back in full force for the spring. So we will be live at the Florida Self-Storage Association show coming up in just about a week and a half in Orlando, Florida. That is February 7th through the 9th. I'm the president of the FSSA this year, which is super exciting. So I hope to see you guys there. Martin and I were chatting, the North Carolina Self-Storage Association, for any owners or operators that are in North Carolina, is just a couple days before Florida, I believe on February 5th and 6th in Asheville, North Carolina. So that's another good state association show to go to. And both Florida and North Carolina are run by the national. And speaking of national, that show will be coming up in March in DC, and that's March 12th through 14th. All of these are very great shows to attend. And again, we will be at Expo booth number 13 at the Florida Association coming up in just a couple weeks. I'm on a marketing panel at that show, and I will also be hosting a roundtable. So I will be all around the Florida show. So hope to see people there that are in the state of Florida or that are coming to that. And again, if you are newer into the business and you're really looking how to get in and learn this from A to Z, is what I'll say, our Storage for Rookies program is a really great program for you. Shameless plug, sorry, but if you guys could take a look at storageforrookies.com, it's not a very expensive ticket to attend that event. It's all virtual, just like this, can be done from the comfort of your office or home. And it's a great series. We have some of the best people from the industry that come in and speak about that. Again, we'll talk you all the way through feasibility studies, pro formas, due diligence, all the way, if you're looking even to sell and get out of the business, how you should properly sell. If any of you have not followed us yet on social media, we're all over social media: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter,
or formerly Twitter, X, YouTube, you name it, we're on there. And if you've joined today and you missed any part of it, you will get a link to the replay of today, so you can always go back. And like Adam was saying, we had a mortgage broker on today, a commercial broker that you could talk to if you're looking for properties, sophisticated investors. Alex is from a third-party management company if you're looking for third-party management. So if you want to get in touch with any of the speakers that were on today, we'd be happy to get you their contact information if you have questions for any of them. And last announcement, I think that's it. Well, no, that's not it. We will be back for another Self-Storage Unlocked on February 15th. And that one is hosted by our partners over at StoreTrack. And the topic is optimizing your rates, a data-driven approach for operators of all sizes. ECRI is going to be critical this year. So looking at rate optimization, revenue management is something that you should be doing. And this session is going to talk all about how you should be properly doing that. So hopefully you can join us on the 15th. We always do Self-Storage Unlocked on a Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back soon, hopefully. So stay tuned for just one final closing commercial, and we'll see you guys on February 15th. Take care. And I have delays on my end today too. Everybody's got delays, so sorry about that, but here we go. No more delays.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Do you have any units available?
Yeah, we have a lot. What are you looking for today?
I don't know, maybe like a 5x5, 5x7?
Yeah, we have 5x5. And they're actually on the special right now. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Dan.
Yeah, so we have 5x5s. Actually, if you look right here, it might.
Oh, okay.
I think this one might work. Because, you can stack them up pretty high.
Yeah. Sounds like it might work.
Did you want to rent one today, or are you just kind of looking around?
Yeah, no, I think I'm ready to rent.
So with that discount that we have going on right now, I don't know how long you're looking to store. For 3 months, it goes for $39.99. And now the first month we do require $22 administration fee, $12 insurance per month.
Okay.
Now if you have like renters insurance or homeowners, I'm just going to show you this unit.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have like homeowners or renters insurance, you just send it on over and then we won't charge you.
Oh, okay.
$12 a month.
Okay.
And it'll be $51.
First month here.
So the first month is with a $22 administration fee, $73. And then it goes to $51 with the insurance and then $39 fee every round.
Okay. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Close to the door. And this is 5 by what?
This is a 5x5.
Right there too. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Easy, close to the door. I like that.
Sorry, I'll just show you these really quick.
Okay.
So we have lights, and they're on a timer.
Oh, okay.
So 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then I just need your ID.
Okay. And I'm just going to pay cash too.
And then just your signature.
Okay.
Okay. $73.
73.
There we go. $27. Now we're going to make your sign in. And here's your receipt.
Okay.
And you're all set.
Oh, you know what I need to get? I need to get a lock because I got to put a lock on it. Let me get a lock, and I need a thing of tape. I guess just one of these little locks here. And then you got some boxes too. Yeah, I need 2 of these guys. I should have told you that before.
And you do get 20% off.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. And then I'll take that company lock off for you.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Do you want to get this guy?
No, I already got it. She's just going to go take the lock off my unit.
Oh, would you take the lock off for
Oh,
you?
sure. However you guys want to do it.
Yeah, please be my guest.
Let's go.
A pleasure. Come on in. Let me give you a ride right here. Please.
We're just walking right here.
Let me give you a ride, please.
And we're like, okay, let's do it.
All right. So, sorry. Hold down, everybody.
No, it's right there. It's right in that door.
Oh!
Oh, fuck.
Okay, cool. I mean, like a funny movie. Team power.
I thought that seemed, I don't know, maybe I was just missing something, yeah?
All right.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. This guy.
That guy right there. Perfect, thank you.
Tell him I'll be my guest and be my next money.
Thank you, Mario. Okay, have a good day. You made me walk back? You may. See you guys, thank you.
Bye.
I am back one more time. I did forget an announcement. If you are not an SBOA enhanced member, you can go ahead and join today for just $4.99 a month. Typically it's $9.99 a month, but we are running a half off promo, or you can just go ahead and pay for the entire year. That gives you access to all of the self-storage unlocked webinars, all of our resources, 50% off any of our summits that we do, like our larger 2 or 3 day summits, 50% off our Storage for Rookies program, and then 10% off the SBOA, product lines, with the exception of commercial and tenant insurance. We do offer that. So if anyone is in need of commercial insurance or wants to sell tenant insurance to their tenants, please get in touch with our team. But we do have a mystery shopping program and internal audit software that you will receive 10% off on those programs by being an enhanced member, and so many more benefits. So please take a look at that. We dropped the link in the comment section. And if anyone has any questions about becoming an enhanced member, feel free to reach out to me. My email is very simple. It's jessica@thesboa.com. Again, thanks for being here with us today. Sorry we ran over, but we felt that this was an important topic and wanted to get all those announcements out to you. Have a great rest of your Thursday and have a great weekend.